Hi, I'm Gracie with Esports Illustrated, and we're here with...
Allycxt. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us, Ally. So I do want to kind of open up with your Women in Call of Duty initiative. Yes. I have been loving following along with that. 2023 has really been her year for esports. So why don't you tell me a little bit about, where you got the idea to start this?
Of course, thank you so much. The WXC, Women X Call of Duty, kind of easy to tell for the name, but I got into gaming by being a competitor. I fell in love during Black Ops 4, seeing like what esports was and stuff, so I tried competing, and obviously I faced those roadblocks pretty right away as a woman in the gaming scene trying to compete. And for a couple of years, I still tried to play, even though I ended up getting the job as a caster, and I realized how much the women's scene was kind of suffering. There was a couple of one-off women's leagues that kind of already existed, but none of them were really officiated or went through the right avenues to get approval by Activision themselves. And I kind of, once I became an analyst on the desk, was like, if anybody was in a position to create something for the women's scene and it already have a backing and already have support, I would be the person to do it. But that also meant that I wouldn't be able to compete for a little bit, so it was a conflict for me for a little bit, because I was like, I still want to try playing as much as possible, but this is also something I know that the women's scene really, really needs. So I kind of just pulled the trigger and made the decision I'm going to step back from playing for a little bit and try and see what we can do. And so the foundation of the WXC was built. I held like really dumb open meetings on like Twitter and stuff, and I was like, if anybody wants to listen to my idea, I would love to get feedback, or anybody interested in helping. It's simply a passion project. And I emailed Activision and the CDL and asked, what are my parameters? What can I do? What can I not do? What wording can I use? What wording can I not use? And sent like an event process thing, whatever, form in, and was like, hey, can I do this? And they said, yeah. And so I got some people behind me and we rock and rolled and it started up.
Awesome. Do you think your position as like a desk analyst really helped to get the ball rolling for an initiative like this?
I think so. Again, the reason I made it in the first place is because I knew I already had a community and I kind of already had a say. The fact that I got to talk about it on the CDL desk was a surprise to me. That wasn't something I went in being like, oh, on the official broadcast, I'll bring it up, because I obviously didn't want conflict of interest. I didn't want to ask that of the CDL. It was actually my production team that just brought it to me one day and was like, hey, we put this in the run of show. We have highlights from the WXC, your week one, if you want to talk about it. And I was just overwhelmed with support and joy for that, because I was like, I would never ask this of you guys, so the fact that you brought it to me and allowed me to do it, I was incredibly thankful for. And I already streamed a lot, so I already had a little bit of a community, and I had been talking about it to them while I was streaming, like, what do you guys think about if we started doing this? And they were like, heck yeah, that sounds really cool. So I think being an analyst definitely helped, just for the fact that we kind of already had a foundation to work with.
Wonderful. And so where was the inspiration for your cyberpunk babe kind of like mascot that you have? I've been obsessed with the helmets for all the teams. Like, where did that inspiration come from?
Well, first we were trying to decide the name, and the name at first, it was just something silly like the ladder, like climbing the ladder. And then one day I was just sitting and I was like, we need something shorter and more catchy. And I just started thinking of like woman biker gangs for some reason. I was just like, Woman X COD, like Woman X something, because I have an X in my name for the A, obviously. So I was like, maybe I could find something else that plays with that. And I was like, the WXC sounds so cool. It sounds like a woman's biker gang. And then I was like, I've seen an anime called Durarara, and there's Celti, and her helmet has the ears. And I was like, I don't want to rip that off, but that's such a great idea. And then I got Atlas, who actually is the graphic designer for Team Summertime, which is a part of Optic. And I just kind of went to him and I was like, hey, here's my brain baby. I was like, I want it to be girly, but not like bright pinks and like over feminized and stuff. I just want it to be cool. I want the girls to feel cool, but it still obviously be like about women. And he took that and ran with it and went over a million different designs with me, and the one we fell on is what made the cut.
Okay, I'm so glad you said Durarara, because that is one of my favorites that people don't know, and I saw that and I was like, no way is this. Yes. So that I'm so glad you confirmed that, because that's been in my head circling. So wonderful. I actually did want to ask, you talked about like you don't want it to be too girly. Where does that, the stigma of women in gaming, and especially in Call of Duty, like how do you overcome that, and how have you in your career overcome something like that?
It comes down a lot to mental fortitude. Unfortunately, it's, one of those things where And people are like, you know, you have to be thick-skinned, you have to be hard-headed, you have to kind of just deal with it if you want to succeed. And, you know, there has to be a first, there has to be a second and a third. And I hate that that's a stigma. I hate that it's, you know, you just got to suck it up, you know, it's just kind of what happens, or it's just COD, it's just whatever. So, I mean, you deal with it the best you can with obviously thick skin or whatever. Things still hurt, it's still tough. Being a woman in gaming, the best way I could ever describe it is like a woman entering the gaming scene and a man entering the gaming scene. The man will never, ever, ever be discriminated against because of his gender. The woman always will be, regardless whether it's 1 out of 10 times or 5 out of 10 times. It happens where it's the opposite side of things. It does not happen. I think people really struggle to understand that because it's like, if a girl's good enough, she'll just raise up in challengers, or she'll just blah, 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 blah. That's not the point. It's the point that the environment isn't there. It's the point that the talent is there, but it can't get cultivated. It's, you know, it's having to deal with the mental abuse of trying to be a woman in gaming sometimes. So that was the whole point of the WXC, is to make an environment that didn't have the mental abuse surrounding it, that didn't have the stigmas, that didn't have the barriers, and just allow the girls to cultivate what is there, what could be there for the women in Call of Duty.
Thank you so much. What kind of like advice could you give like women at home and marginalized genders that are gaming to like overcome that kind of stigma or like the harassment? I know you said mental fortitude, but you know, baby steps. Where can somebody start?
You can start at the WXC if you want. You're welcome anywhere. It's a really lovely group of women. But on the more baseline of things, I guess, man, it's tough to get advice for something that you've went through firsthand and know that like there really isn't like a magic potion. There really isn't like just something you can do to make it easier. Man, I wish I had a good piece of advice to give you other than you just got to do it. If it's something you want to do, sometimes it's just about proving it. Sometimes it's just about getting it done, putting the work in. And, you know, if your words aren't getting through to ignorant people, your actions usually will. So just keep putting the work in.
Great advice, honestly. Like, we need just to kind of power through. Yeah. And something else, like I know you're very open about talking about being on the spectrum, and there was an interview where you discussed how being able to hyper-focus really helps you in esports. Now, I personally can understand how hard it can be, you know, after fixating on something, just how draining that can be for you. So how do you recharge after like such a long event or something like this?
I'm still learning because video games obviously were always my hobby and my safe space, and I'm still, like you said, it is my focus in life, so it's hard because it's work now, and that always takes like a different spin on things. Is, you know, once your hobby becomes work, like even though it's still great and you love it and you enjoy it, it takes on a very different role in your life. I guess my like regain after like a burnout of an event or something truly is playing more Call of Duty or playing other games sometimes. I've gotten into reading a lot, hardback books, not on a Kindle or an iPhone or whatever. Sometimes your eyes seriously just need the break from all the screens, especially because of my job. I'm looking at lights and cameras and blue screens and monitors and TVs 24/7, LEDs galore, you know, the life of the gamer. So just trying to readjust myself to things that don't involve any of that, like reading or cooking. I'm really into cooking. That helps me kind of center myself and also taking care of my body because, again, the life of a gamer sometimes can get out of hand.
Do you have a favorite meal that you like to make?
I've gotten really into pasta lately, homemaking pasta sauce. I just released a YouTube video showing my stream how to make it because I think it's so easy. It's like a garlic lemon bucatini. So good. I'm a big advocate for us like gamers. We're home all the time. We might as well home cook as well because it's better for our bodies. It's better to know what's going into our bodies, and it's a lot easier than people think.
So when can I expect an Allycxt cookbook? Yeah?
Oh God, I don't know if I'm there yet. I'm very much just taking recipes off the internet and sometimes smashing them together. But maybe in a couple years when I'm older.